Let's start with the first one. Is Mr. Reddy, correct? And the session is on the outline is
not outline.
give you an answer.
Odisha as a mini linguistic area. That is the topic.
Please. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone. As most of you know, Odisha is a place which can be described both Odisha as a culture area and secondly Odisha as a linguistic area. My presentation would concentrate on the latter, namely linguistic area. According to M.A. linguistic area is an area where languages belonging to more than one family are spoken, but they share certain features which are not exclusively inherited but acquired due to contact, what is known as intensive contact. So there are three strata regarding the transference of features. Number one, superstratum, that is a language like Sanskrit which has been there for centuries, which imposes its structure as well as its lexicon on the other languages. So other languages work as substratum. The substratum languages, for example, looking at the history of the Indian languages, the tribal Dravidian languages, the Munda languages, and various other groups. Apart from these two, there is what you can call ad stratum. That is one type of stratum whereby languages of equal status share features due to their intensive contact. This is the situation in Odisha between two of the main languages, namely the Dravidian and Munda, which belongs to the Austro-Asiatic. And here, Indo-Aryan has been a sort of communication medium. For example, the local Odia dialects have been helping these two groups to interact. If we look at the grammatical structure as opposed to the lexical structure, Odia has given enormous lexical structure to all these languages, whereas those languages have still retained their structural patterns, their grammatical patterns, namely the phonological, morphological, and syntactic features. At the national level, if you look at these three groups, the Indo-Aryan languages have given heavy lexical items to other languages. They have borrowed, whereas the other languages, especially Dravidian and the Munda, has provided the substratum syntactic features. If you compare Indo-European languages with Indo-Aryan, you can immediately see the structure, syntactic structure of these Indo-Aryan very much influenced by Dravidian and Munda languages. For fun, I used to say, a Munda or a Kuri speaker can tell an Englishman that your syntax is my morphology, because the morphological structure of our languages retain many of these features. Now, turning to the linguistic profile of Odisha, as I mentioned, these three groups are in active contact in Odisha, the Indo-Aryan, Dravidian, and Munda languages. There are many of 62 tribal communities, but there are only around 29 or 30 languages which are identifiable. And these languages belong to all the three groups. The languages that belong to are taken from those three or four books published by the Registrar General and various other people. For example, in the I have given, when the book is published, you will see, I have given all the figures from the 2001 census for most of these languages, because the 2011 census are not yet out for language data. And the methodology adopted here is that of historical and typological. That is, for example, under the guidance of Dr. D.P. Patnaik, I started working on Kuvi and various other Dravidian languages. I came across many non-Dravidian features, okay, in these languages. Then I started looking at what is the source of this. And that has led me to what you can call the impact of the other languages on the structure of Dravidian languages. I will, for each group, I will bring to your attention what are the various features that have contributed to this Odishan linguistic area. For example, to start with, the Munda languages have contributed the following features to especially the Dravidian groups. At this stage, let me just tell you, both these groups, both the Dravidian language spoken in Odisha and Munda languages, there is more illiteracy among them. And it is the illiterate bilingualism which has given rise to these things, this sort of homogeneity in their structural pattern. To start with, for example, Dravidian languages do not have this what you can call glottal stop. But Munda languages, this is borrowed by Kuvi, Manda, and also Kuyi, etc. For example, VA means tomorrow, as opposed to VK means firewood, etc. There is a contrast between like that. There are many other ones. And the second thing, very interesting, what is known as echo word formation. For example, in Indo-Aryan languages, it is chai wine, khana vana, pani vani. The first syllable gets changed only in the consonant. Whereas in Dravidian, whatever may be the syllable, it is always ki or gi. For example, avu givu, illu gillu, house and the like, manishi ginishi, etc., etc. As opposed to these two, namely the Indo-Aryan and the Dravidian pattern, there is a third pattern in the Munda languages where the vowels only change. Only the vowels will change, but not the consonants. Since I don't speak these languages, I will just read some of the materials. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. 3 point, okay. For example, you have something like il means house. It is a Dravidian word. In Telugu, it would be illu gillu. Whereas in this one, il, ula, e changes to u, and if a word ends with a consonant, a changes as the syllable form. Il, ula, sorry, I have to, e, ui, e, uya, water and the like, himna, humni, merke, murke, kursi, kursa, etc. Okay, the examples I am giving are from Dravidian language called Manda, but the system is from the Munda languages. And I was hoping to see Dr. Khagesh Mahapatra. He was the first to notice this in a language called Dide, spoken in our Malkangiri district. Dide is spoken in our Malkan. I say our because I have been working in all these areas in the Malkangiri district, and this is adapted by the Dravidian language throughout its form, not only by Manda but also Kuvi, and some of the dialects of Kuyi spoken in Kutia by Kutia on the community in central area. Now, another interesting feature is the numeral system. Numeral system. For example, both in Dravidian and Indo-Aryan, decimal is the numeral system. If you reconstruct for Indo-Aryan or Dravidian, the decimal would be the point. For example, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Afterwards it is 10, 11, 1 plus 10, 12, 2 plus 10, etc. Whereas in Dravidian, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, would be 10 plus 1, 10 plus 2, the reverse order. Okay. As opposed to this, in Munda languages, the system is 20 based, what you call code. Okay. Now you can ask me, how do you know? A language which has monomorphic items up to 10 That is the decimal system. If a language has monomorphemic system up to 20, that is its system. For example, instead of 10 plus 1, in the vigesimal system, it would be 20 plus 1, 20 plus 2, etc. For example, I was very fortunate to get this data from Khadia, given by one of my students who was working with me at Usmania University. This was recorded in 1930s by one of the British scholars. Nowadays they don't use. They have switched over to the Indo-Aryan system, the Hindi system. Here, I will just read numbers up to 20. Please bear with me. 1, 2, 3, you can count in your mind. Yeah, this light is not enough for me. Moyin, Ube, Ukhe, Ekpen, Molai, Urbu, Tham, Thom, Themang, Ghul, Ghul, Tok, Toya, Kissing, Dubai. Thank you. Ekdi is 20. Ekdi is 20. And after 20, for example, for 21, Ekdi Moyin. Moyin is 1. That is 20 plus 1. So here, Khadia has monomorphemic number up to 20, then it goes on. And I have explained both Telugu and Hindi regarding the other system. Now, in a system where it is a vigesimal system, that is 20 basic system, the next highest number would be 20 plus 11. For 31 it would be 20 plus 11. For 40 it would be 2 20s. Dui Kodi. For 50 it would be Dui Kodi Pandro. This Pandro is by Desya, not just your standard Odia, as we call it. For 75 it would be Teen Kudi Pandro. And now, just as for a decimal system, 100 is the highest number. After 100 we will say 110, 120, etc. Here, the next number, highest number is 400. Kodi Kodi. For example, for 500, they will say Kodi Kodi, Mas Kodi. Could you follow? 20 multiplied by 20, addition with 5 multiplied by 20. Kodi Kodi, Mas Kodi. So like that it goes on, and I was very fortunate to get an informant, Mr. Sanatan Maji, who went on counting up to 1 lakh. He spent some 3 days, and I have recorded all these things. Here, there are the following things to be observed. Number 1, historically, Manda is a Dravidian language spoken by part of the Kondh community. Number 2, the rule system, namely 20 basic system, is borrowed from the Austro-Asiatic Munda languages. Number 3, the numerals are borrowed from Odia. As you might have seen, for example, Dui Kudi Dusro, Dui Kudi Dusro. So there is an excellent adstratum of all the 3 languages in the Odisha linguistic area. So this is a very interesting system, and numeral system is one. And then there are other things. Well, I can stop, but see, I was asked by, give me at least 10 more minutes. Yeah. Okay, I will be very brief. For example, in Dravidian languages, we have only subject agreement. But Munda languages have only object agreement also. That is adapted by the Dravidian languages, namely these Kondh languages, Kuyu, Kuri, Pengo, Munda, etc. I have all the examples given here, and the data is full of examples. For example, you see what the philosophers call the speech act participants, that is first person and the second person. Okay? And whenever there is a reference to the first or second person, there is a marking on the morphology. I saw him as opposed to I saw you. This da indicates it is first or second person. Like that, there are all the features that have come here. And here I may just mention, in Dravidian languages, in ancient Tamil and modern Malayalam, there is a difference between, there are 2 types of verbs to give. One is taru, another is kodu. Kodu is to the third person, taru is to the first or second person. That ta is generalized as morphological marker here. Okay, there is another feature, I will just be very fast. For example, somebody does some work in the presence of speaker and hearer. If the same action is elsewhere, that is also not. For example, I was working with the informant. Somebody brought a bundle of sticks. He asked him, it move means keep it here. It move. Move is the it ga move. It ga move. You go and keep there. This sort of marker is very peculiar to the Munda languages, that is adapted by this Dravidian language. Another thing is intensive action. You may beat one person once, you may go on beating. Irtun, irpatun. I mean, he went on that pa, which is added to ir means to beat. Sorry, I have no time to explain all these things. So like this, these languages have adapted many features from Munda languages. Now, another thing is the influence of Indo-Aryan and Dravidian. Number one, the nasalization. Nasalization is not part of Dravidian. Number two, aspiration. Aspiration is there only in the educated people of Telugu, but aspiration is not native to Telugu or Kannada or even Malayalam. But our scholars, under the impact of Sanskrit, we have adapted this. And the third feature is, adjectival concord. You see, for example, Dravidian, that boy, that girl, that kursi, that chair, that would be the same. A kurchi, a mai, a bai. Whereas in Hindi, etc., there would be, depending upon the adjective, bada ladka, badi ladke, etc. This sort of feature is adapted by Gondi, which is spoken in the southern part of Odisha, and And then, I see in Oriya we have R, for example, Ram or Sita, Cholo or whatever it is. This R is taken instead of the which we had from Tamil and other things. Okay. Now, I will skip some of these. Petitive ki bhi, that is, say for example in Hindi, usne kaha ki wo kal aayega. Whereas in Telugu it would be other way around, in all Dravidian. And this feature is adapted from Oriya by these Dravidian languages. Okay. Classifier system according to Emino has evolved from the Indo-Aryan languages, and that is adapted now by Telugu. In Manda, we have three-way classification: the animals, the non-inanimates, and the human beings. Char jana kadde, char gote mekaro, that is goats, and char munda, goat, and char gote trees, that sort of thing. So that's how these have been influenced. Finally, I will just read the summary, what I have been doing. Finally, another thing, right hand as the eating. Right hand, what is the word for? For example, in Telugu, Pudicheri, Tiniki, Kaibo Hotho, in Desya Varya, because I am worried that the standard speakers might object. Yeah, my Varya is Desya Varya. Okay. Finally, the linguistic symbiosis of Odisha has given rise to a sharing of traits across genetic boundaries. The tribal languages have played the important role of donor for several of the features. There has been intertransference of linguistic traits as well as materials between several tribal languages, but this mutual convergence is not limited to superficial adaptation of forms. Due to contact, the underlying root system has diffused from one group of languages into the other, thereby creating a situation of common pragmatico-semantic area. Depending upon the idiosyncratic nature of a particular language, these underlying features are accommodated through various formal linguistic expression. We come across both the rule convergence as well as the formal convergence in the language contact in Odisha. Because of the diffusion of the root system over centuries of cohabitation, the three linguistic families have developed such a striking structural similarity. With the mutual influences between Munda, Dravidian and Indo-Aryan, the Odishan mini-linguistic area exhibits many traits of linguistic area within the Indian macro linguistic area. Thank you very much. Thank you.